What's going on, residents of Raccoon City? Nick Smith back here again. As you can see, I'm rocking the Stars t-shirt, so that means, that's right, I'm here to talk about another Resident Evil movie in the Paul W.S. Anderson Resident Evil series. Now, I know it's been a while since I've made one of these, and March isn't too far around the corner, so I figured, why not? And this is actually going to be one of my last videos that I make in this apartment because I am going to be moving closer to my fiance, so I figured let's have the last video that I make be about one of the Resident Evil movies, and one of the Resident Evil movies that I actually have quite a fond time of experiencing the build-up with. I have some history with this movie, and I did do a video about this movie years ago, but I just didn't like how I did it. It was me going over every single part of the film brick by brick, and I wanted to just try it in a new format. Now, do I think that this film is any better? I don't know. Let's see. So let's talk about Resident Evil Afterlife. Alright, so Resident Evil Afterlife, the fourth movie in the Paul W.S. Anderson series. Now, this was the very first Resident Evil movie that I actually got to go watch in theaters. I remember like it was yesterday. I actually got to experience the hype of waiting for this movie to come out. I seen the trailer. I noticed they had taken a lot of stuff from Resident Evil 5, and that was the Resident Evil game that I was playing at the time. That was the one I knew really well. And so I was really excited. I would always find clips and everything. I wanted to know more about this film. I remember the trailer, the music in the trailer, and they actually took the music from the trailer and put it near the end of the film. I really liked that. It enhanced the scene. It was great. So let me see some positives. This movie has a great soundtrack. I love the music in this movie. It's really good. I really enjoy it. I like that they finally made Albert Wesker the main villain of the movies, like he was supposed to be, like he's the main villain of the series. We finally got Chris Redfield in the movie. He should have been in the first one. And there's some pretty good action in this movie, I will say that. Some of the CGI is horrible, but that's about a lot of the positives. There's some great action scenes, there's some great music, and they did take a couple scenes from Resident Evil 5 and threw it in there. It was like an exact copy of what happened in the games, and that's what we had been asking for. But the whole problem with this movie is it looks like Paul W.S. Anderson just took certain things from Resident Evil 5, tossed it in a blender, tossed the script in, and merged them all together, and that's what we got. Now, the zombies that he uses in this movie are zombies from Resident Evil 5. We get a mini-boss from Resident Evil 5, and we get Wesker from Resident Evil 5. All of these things are from Resident Evil 5. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of the stuff that happens in Resident Evil 5, it's not explained in this movie. Because the infected from Resident Evil 5, they have nothing to do with the T-virus. The infection is a parasite in Resident Evil 5. And the mini-boss, the Executioner, who looks great. I'm so glad that this thing wasn't CGI. They got a big dude to play him. They made him look like a threat. The boss fight between him and Claire and Alice was done really well. I liked what they did with him. They showed that this guy was not going to be taken down so easily with just a single shot. They did a great job of building him up. The dynamic between Claire and Chris, I didn't like, because it turns out Chris Redfield in this whole entire movie series has been locked in a prison the entire time, because he says when he was stationed, everything went to crap, and then he got locked in the prison cell. So he's been there the entire time. Now, there's a line in this movie where Wesker is like, Chris and Claire Redfield, you've really become quite an inconvenience for me. How? Because unless you had to know the story from the games to understand what he means, this line has no meaning. The fight has no meaning. It's just an awesome fight. If it was just a fight between Wesker and Alice, yeah, that would have made sense. That would have made sense. It would have sucked that Chris and Claire or any of the other Resident Evil characters weren't there, but at least it would have made sense. With having Claire and Wesker and Chris fight each other, it makes no sense, because they're acting like there's been like this long blood feud between Wesker and Chris, and it's not there. It's in the games, but it's not here in any of the films. It's not been established at all. This is just the fans will know what this is, but it makes no sense in the film at all. That is a big downfall, is that Paul W.S. Anderson, I feel like, just took things from Resident Evil 5 without explaining them, without having to make any sense at all. Maybe he could have thrown in a line saying, oh, because of how long the T-virus has been around, we've started to get new variants. Like, now we've got like a T-virus parasite or something. Speaking of the T-virus, I really feel like there was a big opportunity to have a big character moment with Alice, and I personally feel like they dropped the ball with this, so hear me out. There was a fight scene between Wesker and Alice at the beginning of the film, and he kicks her butt, and he does something very interesting. He's able to take her powers away, and he's like, you know, I'm what you used to be, except I'm better. The Umbrella Corporation is taking back the property kind of thing. And I thought that this would have been a great idea, because Alice actually says to Wesker, thank you for making me human again. Because she was talking about in the other films how I barely feel human anymore, you know, I've got these powers and stuff like that. What if they use this to, you know, Alice is glad that she's human again, but what if they actually did something to where she maybe relied on her powers too much, and then when it comes time for her to use them, she realizes, oh crap, I don't have them. And she actually tries to do what she used to do, but she realizes that she can't, and actually have that be a hard moment for her. And you can actually have Claire have to step in and help her. Shoot, they both take down the Executioner together, but why not have Claire be the one who puts down the Executioner? You could have had a great moment with a character from Resident Evil take down one of the bosses in the film. But no, you have to have Alice do everything. I get she's a main character, but you could have really had an interesting moment where Alice is wondering, okay, what am I without my powers? Yes, I didn't want them, but I got so used to them. How do I do this stuff without my powers? What do I do? You could have had that be a really great scene. I thought that that's where they should have went with that. Have Alice doubt who she is without her powers, even though she didn't want them in the first place. That would have been something great. They really messed up with having Chris and Claire in this movie because, and it has to do with something else from Resident Evil 5. So in Resident Evil 5, you find out Jill is alive and she's got this spider on her chest, and it made her a puppet for Wesker. She did whatever Wesker said, no hesitation. She, like I said, she was a puppet. And you eventually tear this thing off of Jill, and after that, she remembers who she is, she remembers who Chris is, and she remembers that she was trying to take down Wesker and Umbrella. Now, when this whole thing is on Claire, and Alice takes it off of her, she doesn't know who she is, she doesn't know who Alice is, she doesn't even remember who Chris is. And I was like, no, that's not how this works. That's not how it works. He took things from Resident Evil 5 and didn't have the right context. The best part in this whole entire movie is the boss fight between Wesker. It's great. They literally took the same scene with him taking the glasses off, him tossing it at them. It was great. It was really, really good. And they did show that Wesker can heal like super crazy. They showed a super speed. It was awesome. They took something right from the game and they put it in the movie. They gave us what we were asking for pretty much, but without any context. This movie, I will say, I enjoy for the most part. Just, it's not a good Resident Evil adaptation. It's a fun popcorn flick if you're like, you know, just wanting to kill time, or you're doing something, you want something in the background. Pop this in. You'll probably have a good time. Guys, put in the comments below, what do you think about Resident Evil Afterlife? Do you like that they took things from Resident Evil 5 and threw them in there just about, hey, here's stuff from the most previous game, I'm caught up? Or do you wish that they had explained it and had some more context? I really want to know. Guys, don't forget to elbow drop that like button and spear the subscribe button for the 1, 2, 3. And guys, stay tuned, because when I come back with my next video, we're going to be going back to the past, like I said before, to infinity and beyond with Buzz Lightyear of Star Command. Have a good day, guys, and I'll see you then.